Anyway, so the opening of Dynamite on August the 9th was the Jericho Appreciators mandatory meeting that they have called to discuss the way that Chris Jericho's been treating them and his lack of caring about their individual wants and needs and feelings and emotions. And you had Mac Daddy, and you had Anna Jay, and you had Ty Mello Conti, and you had Sammy Guevara, and Danny Garcia, and Cool Hand Luke, and Hatless Hager. What does Hager do here?
I can't answer that. How do you want me to answer that? He hasn't had that hat in forever. That's still the only thing about him that's over.
What is his purpose?
Jericho likes him. That's the purpose. That's why he got his job. That's why he's been there this whole time. That's why he has that contract. He's Chris Jericho's guy. Period.
Well, not anymore, because he's about to quit. Jericho came out in a magenta leisure suit, and as their friend, he wanted to talk about being their friend and all he's done for him, and Garcia shut him up. He was mad about getting hit with the bat last week. Jericho never chooses them, always chooses himself. He quit and he walked out. And then Hager, with all the personality you would expect from a rusty oil drum, said that he wasn't surprised about Garcia walking out. He's still talking about his hat. He mentioned his hat. He doesn't appreciate Jericho anymore, and he walked out. And hopefully Tony met him with a termination notice at the curtain. And then Jericho pleaded with the rest of them to think about what he's done for him. But Ty was feeling sick, and it wasn't just the ongoing medical situation she's got going on. She said, I'm going to go away and have my baby and come back next year. I quit. So thank you for coming. And then Anna Jay said that she's going to win the women's title that night, not appreciate Jericho, and she left too. And then Cool Hand Luke told him off kind of in the best fashion of anybody so far, with more emotion and a better promo. And he quit. And then Daddy Mac cried and squealed about the last 18 months being his lifelong dream. But a lot of his friends hate Jericho, and now he understands why, and he left. And then Guevara slapped the microphone out of Jericho's hands and told him off. And then he said, I'm not going to walk out because I'm your friend. But if you work your shit out, maybe I'll be here. And then he walked out. And Jericho was left standing there. So apparently, the Jericho Appreciation Society is no longer going to be appreciating Jericho.
The whole thing was stupid from the get-go. Putting them together as a faction with that name, they're supposed to appreciate him who's doing the worst work of his career. This whole segment was a bad Monday Night Raw segment. It was Chris Jericho unleashed. Everyone got to do their bad acting and then dramatically walk off. This was so bad, and it lasted a long time.
Long time.
If it all leads to Chris Jericho turning babyface on Don Callis to be appreciated by the appreciators, it's stupid. If it's so that Jericho could become a heel, we'll see. But Chris Jericho's work has been substandard for quite some time, specifically the booking around it. And this was just lame. I mean, this seemed like a lame Raw segment, the kind of thing that Jericho would have had Vince reject, and he brought it here.
But at least they didn't have any potted plants.
That's true.
They should have had a meeting in the therapist's office. Shitstain could have written that. He could have brought Stevie Richards back and give him a doctorate. And
what did you think of this? What did you think of starting the show with this? And then, like I said, just the dramatic one at a time, everyone. Like the Muppets leaving Kermit in Manhattan.
Well, yeah, and that's when I saw them in the ring, I'm like, what the fuck? Because they advertised the Hardys versus the Buckaroos. And honestly, I thought they would put that on first because they now know that the highest rated part of the program almost always on Wednesday is the first part, the first segment. And I figured that they would want to do that then, not only to hook people with the biggest marquee thing they might be able to put together, but also so the Buckaroos wouldn't have to taste the ignominious defeat of losing viewers somewhere else in the program. But I guess Jericho won the coin flip in Tony's office, and he got to go first, and they got to go second. But no, you said it. It was a bad Raw segment. And if there was 2 or 3 guys that he had really been tight with and they hadn't been teasing all this dissension for so long, it might be one thing. But when it's 7 people or whatever out there, and they've all been pissing on him for weeks because he's blowing them off, you knew what was going to happen, and it took a long time for it to happen.
But like with Raw, not Raw, but SmackDown, WWE, not that I'm the biggest fan of these kind of things, but they work considering what it is. With the bloodline, it's not never, but very often, instead of just Roman Reigns will be here, it's Roman Reigns will be here for, tribal spelling bee, like something that's been going on. With Jericho, it's always that. It's always, there will be an inner circle conference of champions, or there'll be the Jericho Appreciators public meeting.
Yes.
It's always these bad segments, and they're always bad. They're always bad.
I'm bad, Shaluba, 'cause I'm bad. I'm Jericho, I'm bad.
It's my booking.
And I'll cry if I want to.
It's a completely different song. You just went to Leslie Gore.
You would cry too if it happened to you. So Renee Moxley Good was in the back after the break with Chris Jericho and Don Fallis. And Don is apologizing if he played any part in what just happened. And Jericho said, I made up my mind about whether I'm going to join your family or not, Don, and I'm going to announce it next week. So we get another big announcement about another group he's going into. And then...
Wouldn't it be funny if all the appreciators join Callis?
That would be great. Now the family is bigger than ever. But Chris, we don't have room for you at the table.